All right, 99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. And right here, we are joined by a legendary individual within the punk rock community. This individual has dipped his toe in so many bands across punk rock. It is not even funny. If we talked about every single band this evening, we would be here all night into the early morning hours. But we have none other than Chris Dalley of the amazing Authority Zero, Holy, 10-foot pole implants. The list goes on. Chris, how are you doing How are you doing this evening?
We're doing good. We're just driving across. We just entered Texas right now. We're about maybe like an hour away from our guitar player's house.
Hey, well, you know what? What happens in Texas, Chris, always stays in Texas.
I guess so.
But, you know, obviously a little bit of the portion of your Texas trip is obviously being broadcasted. So I guess in a way it's not really staying in Texas.
No, it's all good though. I mean, it's just right now. It's just Jason, Mike, and I. Here, I'll turn over. They're waving right now. Jason's driving.
And I gotta say, I gotta admit, I am super happy for you guys that you guys are actually doing this tour with Mest and Bowling for Soup. I mean, I wish there were. When I was speaking with Jason last week, I was telling him I wish there was a Canadian portion, man, because I would be there at every show possible, man. I grew up with all bands, so just insane.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all great friends too. So I mean, it's just gonna be about friends having fun, watching football on Sundays, and just having a good time.
But also, Chris, I got to take you back to the very beginning of your amazing career, man. And obviously, like you mentioned during the intro of this interview, you are actually known to the punk rock scene as the drummer that could honestly fly out at a moment's notice and fill in for any band. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a story behind that title and that role within the music industry. And of course, off the top of your head, how many bands have you actually filled in for?
Oh God, I've definitely filled in for about a good over a dozen. But I basically got a call from one time for Zebrahead. I wasn't Death by Stereo at the time, and their drummer Ed got a motorcycle accident. He was fine, but there was risk of infection on his legs. So they had a show. They had 2 days before they were flying out to England. I basically was learning the set on the plane. We did one rehearsal in Leeds, and then I did it. So I kind of got a reputation out of it. And that you know, like you need me within a day or two, I could submit a thing. That's why I got the Voodoo Glow School gig. I did the same thing with Face to Face. I did it with Strung Out. So I guess that reputation kind of preceded me.
That's crazy, man. Ace of Base, Motorhead. I mean, like, honestly, what can't you do, man? Because especially that moment's notice, learning that music, whether you're a fan is one thing, but getting up on stage in front of thousands upon thousands of people and just performing their music is just extraordinary for any drummer to do.
Well, like, it was, I mean, the weird thing for Zebrahead was, like, I was only familiar with their first two records. And they were just about to release their fifth. So I had a lot of homework to do. I was like really banging on my food tray on the flight and writing notes down. I like literally wrote like notes down, like, okay, slow funky beat, fast punk beat, you know, just rocker, this kind of stuff. And so I literally had a note taped to my hi-hat stand. And then I mean, like, it's same with Voodoo Glow Skulls. I mean, I only knew the first two records when I joined the band. They had 8 at that point. So I had a lot of homework to do on all those things. But I mean, like when I filled in for Face to Face and Strung Out, I knew their whole catalog. So just tell me what songs.
And also as well, man, in 2011, you actually became a founding member of the supergroup, also band known as Implants. I was wondering if you could actually tell us the story behind that amazing band, and of course, what actually made yourself and the other members come together to form this band back in the day?
Well, Jim Blowers, our original guitar player, he's no longer in the band, but he had a couple songs that he wrote fully that did not work out for Fully. It didn't fit the soundscape of Fully. Those songs ended up being Mutualism and Now Run. And what he wanted to do was just do like a time capsule. It wasn't going to be a band. It was just going to be like musicians that we all knew could pull these songs off and just like work on them together. And Rob had a couple songs that Strung Out didn't want to use, and so which were Bleed Within and Unveiling. And then our bass player Chris had like these other songs, and so like we recorded like about 6 songs. We're like, this sounds really good. We need to keep this going, and we kept it going. And From Chaos to Order was made right then and there.
And I gotta say, Implants, honestly, is such an amazing band. I know you know that because you're the drummer of it, but I mean, I remember when you guys actually just dropped that album. Okay, we're gonna get into it in a few moments, Chaos to Order. But I just gotta say, man, when I first heard that album back, I think it was 2013 Criteria, man, it blew me away, man, right after the letter.
Yeah, it was that was an album that was like a labor of love. I mean, that was just all friends just getting together. We all wrote the lyrics together. Like we actually all five of us would be in at our singer's house, at Ken's house, and we would like actually like write like do lines and bounce off each other. That whole album was like all five of us writing those.
And also, as well, in 2013, you guys actually inked a deal with Los Angeles-based record label Cybertrax. I was wondering, what is the story actually behind that record deal? And of course, what was it like just working alongside Aaron of NoFX?
When we signed with them, basically, they had heard we had released Live Passes on Facebook, and Aaron's wife Jen had heard it actually, and she goes, "Oh my God, I want this band," because they had just signed like two bands. They'd only like signed two bands at that point. So basically, we said, "Yeah." I mean, and we basically didn't have any love from everybody else of it, which is funny because people love this record to this day. I mean, it gets played 4 or 5 times a day. It's like the staying on faction. But Aaron is just an awesome dude. He's the one who like really championed for us to go out the NoFX tour later on in the winter of that year. He really put his love into the band, and he still does it to this day.
And I gotta say as well, man, like this obviously, I know you guys were a super group. You guys had all members from different bands all over, but it's really cool to actually have your guys' very first record deal just come from someone with such prestige like Aaron.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, my apologies. I was just saying, like, I know obviously you guys were in many different bands. You had so many connections. And of course, you guys were a super group. But just the fact that your very first record deal with Implants came from Aaron of NoFX, man, is just absolutely extraordinary.
I mean, I think all of us have known him for a while. But one is Aaron's a fan. He's a fan of the music. He loves it and he breathes it. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer for us. And also with how much Jen loved it too, his wife. I mean, we knew we were gonna. We knew we were gonna make a good relationship. That was.
And also, one of the last Implants questions I have, because I know we got a lot to cover in a short time in this interview, but May 7th of 2013, and I briefly mentioned this a few moments ago, that you guys released the amazing 12-track album titled From Chaos to Order. I was wondering if you can actually just break down this amazing album with us. And of course, 10 years later in 2023, is it actually still available to be purchased?
Sure.
Are you there, Chris? Looks like he hit a dead patch there, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be back in a few moments. Life on the road.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Chris.
There you are.
Can you hear us?
There you are. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. What I was saying was May 7th of 2013. I know I mentioned this a few moments ago, but you actually released a 12-track album From Chaos to Order. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about that album, and of course, is it actually still available to be streamed or purchased 10 years later in 2023?
It's still available. You can still. We did a limited edition gold vinyl repress for the 10th anniversary, and you can get it anywhere on Spotify or iTunes or like that. But that album was just, it was like carrying those songs that Rob had written. I remember like hearing Believe Within, like, and Strung Out doesn't want to do the song. Why? Because I think that song is like one of the best songs. Same with like Mutualism with Jim. I think it's a little bit too hard for Foley. But watching Del Rio, our bass player, he just came in like all these songs. Like he came in like, Stuck Around and Regime, and he just knocked it out of the park. It's like every one of the songs is a labor of love from the guys.
And also as well, man, from 2013 to the year 2021, you were actually a member of the legendary punk rock band Poli. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about those days, and of course, what was it like just being able to be a part of that legendary band as well?
Well, what had happened was I'd already been in implants with Jim, and Jim was still employee too. And it wasn't working out with the old drummer, so they called me, and of course I knew the songs. Playing in a band with Scott is awesome. Scott is still one of my closest friends, and I love him to death. And actually Tyler too. Tyler and I were in Death by Scare together, so I knew Tyler for a long time. So there was no getting to know you kind of thing. We all knew each other. So, but especially between Tyler, Scott, and myself, we're huge baseball fans. So if we're not talking about music, we're talking about baseball. So, and it was just a lot of fun. Those shows, I mean, they would go off. It was insane.
And I got to say as well, man, I absolutely love the album that you were a part of, which was the studio album, No Change in the Weather. I absolutely love the drum rhythms actually on that particular project.
Thank you. My one complaint with the album was that, I mean, and this is nothing against him, but the guy who mixed it, Ryan Green, he basically had these new toys that he was playing with, and some stuff kind of that was taken.
Well, hopefully maybe they'll do a remastered version and kind of bring it out and actually kind of retweak that production. I don't know if the rest of the members of Police still has the actual masters of it, but maybe down the road they'll do an anniversary release and actually remaster the entire project.
I would love that.
Because I do know some bands do that. I noticed it's always 20 years in the future they tend to bring up the remaster projects, but it looks like it's 2016, so we have quite a few years to go, but hopefully we will see the light of day on that one.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was kind of discovered by Jim Cherry, and so Jim Cherry was the first guy who saw me. We were playing with Foley at Chain Reaction in California, one of my local bands I was part of, and he loved me. So I was actually the first drummer for Zero Down. But right before he died, I had written these songs, and I wanted him to help me out. So I went to his house in his garage and laid down these 6 songs, and he helped me out with helping shape the songs or whatever like that. And the funny thing, when we were coming up and stuff for No Change in the Weather, I said, hey, I have these songs that me and Jim wrote together. And Scott picked Walk Away and Syndrome. And those were the 2 songs that me and Jim had written together. So it was a full circle moment for Scott, going back with having Jim Cherry be a part of it.
And I actually did not know that about your career, so I have to touch base on that, man, because I do know a lot of your fans that didn't know that probably would be like, hey, man, why didn't you dive into that a little bit? But what was it like just working alongside him? And of course, what is one of your fondest memories to share? What was he like just working alongside in the studio?
Passionate. Jim Cherry was probably one of the most passionate people I ever met in my life. He was, I mean, like I said, he was intense. And I was 19 years old at that point, so I was intimidated, to say the least. And that's why I didn't stay with the band that long, because my band I was a part of at the time was doing really well, but I wish I would have stayed because we ended up breaking up right after. But Jim was he was such a huge part of giving me a belief in myself. He was such a good teacher or mentor. I got the Temple Pole gig because of him. He had recommended me to Dennis. I tried out for the Acrobats because of him. I did all these things, and it was that's how much he believed in what I did and what I did. So I love the fact that me and his wife are still close friends. And it's just he was the real deal. When you heard his lyrics, that's what he was. There was no baloney with that guy.
And also, currently today, as the world already knows, you are actually a member of another iconic punk rock band known to the world as Authority Zero. I wonder if you can actually just tell us the story behind that, and of course, what ultimately led to you becoming official member of the group.
Well, I've been friends with we would go to schools in Authority together a couple times, and I got along amazingly well with the band. And they had been trying to get me to, because when they got Sean in the band, Sean still had Good Riddance to do as well. So there was times he couldn't do tours, and they called me every single time, but I was just not available. Fully had stuff for implants and stuff. And then finally they called me, and I actually had nothing available. And I did the first tour, and I ended up doing pretty much that whole year of 2015. And I'm like, so am I in the band or what? And then we got together, started writing broadcasting, and the rest is history. I love this band so much. It's an honor to be a part of it still to this day.
And it's pretty cool though, the fact that like you were doing it for so long. It must have felt like even before you actually asked, "Am I in a band? Am I in the band now?" It must have already felt like that as well, man. Because
Yeah.
the chemistry that you guys have, man. Like the current lineup today, the chemistry you guys have is out of this freaking world.
Well, I mean, and also people see that too in our live performances too. I mean, are we allowed to cuss on here? I'm not sure if we are.
Oh, we are completely uncensored, man. Definitely cuss up a
Okay.
storm if you need to.
Yeah. So I mean, it's when there's no bullshit on there. I mean, how we are, we love each other like so much, and like you see us like we're smiling, we're making each other laugh. Brandon will do some random things like pretending to lick my right cymbal for a reason. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? So it's just like you see it right there. It's a real deal with us, and you just see how much fun I think that resonates off to the crowd too. And then as a drummer, I had the best seat in the house. I get to see my three guys along with the band with the crowd going nuts, and that is like the most amazing feeling in the world, especially when you have a band that's on the same page. And I love the fact that we are like that to this day.
And I got to say, I've been a huge Authority Zero fan for a majority of my life. And I remember when I first got my hands on the album Rhythm and Blues, man. That honestly had me absolutely set as an Authority Zero fan. I know you had a few albums before that, but that was the first album that really got me into the band. And I went back, listened to the other two records, and loved every single record since, all the way up to Ollie Ollie Oxen Free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing too. Is I mean, we're one of those bands where we can play with pretty much anybody and do any kind of style. Not a lot of bands could do, especially punk bands, could do acoustic and make it sound good. I think we have that luxury of where we have guys, especially like Jason and Mike, who they can arrange. They can take any of our songs and arrange them to be in the acoustic setting, and that's why. We can go off and tour with Blank Pursuit for one show and then go play with Pennywise another show. It's like we're very, very gifted in the fact that our style can go with anybody.
And also as well, starting September 5th, obviously you're in the Authority Zero tour bus right now as we speak, heading off to this tour. But starting September 5th, yourself and the rest of Authority Zero are gearing up to go on tour with Mest and Bowling for Soup, which I know we talked about briefly at the beginning of the interview, for the Getting Old Sucks tour. I was wondering if you can actually tell us what can we actually expect from the Authority Zero portion of this tour, and of course, where can we actually snag ourselves some last-minute tickets if there is still some available in certain cities?
Yeah, I mean, I think we already have 5 sellouts of the tour so far. There's a lot that have low ticket warnings. You can get any of our shows. Go to authorityzero.com for that. But with as far as like the tour, it's us and Mess are both we're swapping every night, first and second. We both get 40 minutes, and you're going to get the best of both bands whenever you guys show up. And then of course, Point Pursuit. I mean, it's like what I love about that band is it's great songs, great music, and then you have like a comedy show. They are so funny live, and it's a whole bunch of cool things wrapped into one show. So we're gonna get 40 minutes. We're gonna go up there and we're gonna destroy you. We're gonna go and hang out the merch afterwards with everybody, with the fans, because that's what we like to do. And then just watch 2 other great bands. So it's gonna be an amazing time with amazing friends. Like I said, we've all been friends for a long time, so this is gonna be just a fun time.
And it's really cool that yourselves and Mest are actually switching it up back and forth. It kind of lightens up the tour a little bit, so it's not the same thing like every single night, man. I know a lot of bands, they keep the set list the way it is, like first, second, third, boom. But the fact that you guys are switching it up and rotating, it kind of makes it a little bit fresher for you guys, so it's not the same thing every single night you guys go out.
Absolutely. Like I said, I mean, it's like when you. For me, it's like when you go on tour, especially when you go on tour with friends, it's going to make it that much more fresh for everybody, because if you see if you watch a crowd too, like, okay, well, people responding to this song or this song, and so you put that into account when you go on tour, because we're playing to it. Well, I'm never going to have our Zero Crew fans there, but you never know. A lot of people are going to see us for the first time. A lot of cities that we've never played before, so. We want to basically give them, okay, here's what Authority Zero is, here's what we're about. Hope you like it. And if they do, hopefully, buy a shirt, buy some stuff. Because we have a killer set of merch items coming out too. So on the store. So.
And I have to ask as well, because obviously we kind of spoke about Authority, what's next for Authority Zero. Obviously, it's tour right now. But for yourself, Chris Dalley, like, what is next for yourself? Like, is there any musical ventures that you actually are going to be doing after this tour? Like, is there anything we missed during this evening's interview that you actually still want to talk about or touch on or promote?
Well, November, we're almost done with the new Implants record. And we have re-signed with Cybertrax. I have a couple more things to do drumming wise on the record. I'm going to do in November when we get off this tour. And yeah, that new one will be out next year. New Implants. And next year is going to be really busy for Authority Zero too. It's our 30th anniversary. We have some ideas that we have in place that we want to do. We'll see if those come to fruition. There's a possible full-on Canadian tour that we're talking about. So we'll see what happens with that too.
Sweet.
And then, it's going to be, I think 2024 is going to be a super busy year for me and also the band. It's going to be, right now, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I love Implants, but Implants is a part-time band. And Rob has his commitments strung out. So, because now Jake's in our band. So, Rob and Jake have their commitments strung out. And Jake is also me personally giving indies too. But Authority Zero is my priority. It's a full-time band. And if you're in a full-time band, you have to treat it like a full-time priority. And so that's my priority is whatever Authority Zero has, you'll see me there.
Completely understandable as well. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if it's a full-time band, and especially when you're doing opportunities like this, obviously this has to be your main focus. Obviously, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you have to be all in or get out. I mean, in my mind, if you are not doing this with your full 100% commitment, then you shouldn't be doing this. And I think that's why, this lineup, especially like with us, with Brandon back in the band and things like that, it's working out so well. Because you see us, we're into it all in.
And quickly before we part ways, because obviously you mentioned a brand new Implants record that is coming out shortly. I guess in a way, this is kind of a question that I just want to know because I'm genuinely a fan of what you do. As per Implants, man, is this going to be just a digital release, or do you actually have plans to actually release compact discs or records?
No, they'll definitely be physical releases. Usually with Cybertrax is not much more of a distribution. You'll probably Jen and Aaron like to do it where it's a mail order thing, but it'll be definitely available on all streaming services. But we'll probably do a couple of runs of vinyl and then probably sell CDs, maybe even cassettes, because cassettes are going to make a comeback right now. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I guarantee they'll be. I personally can't stand the idea of not doing anything that's a physical copy. I like going back to as a kid. I my favorite about buying records was seeing what kind of artwork it was or like that. So that's why to me it'd be a crime if we didn't do that.
I gotta say, I definitely agree. There is nothing better than a physical release, man. Just being able to open the booklet, read the thank you notes, just read what the artists have to say, man. I find it brings you more closer to the music you're listening to. Don't get me wrong, you can read all that on a digital release, but it's not the same scrolling on Spotify reading that, man. It's better to hold it.
It takes forever. So
that's true.
I'll pass on that. My eyesight sucks, so I'd rather just do the physical copy.
I definitely get you on the eyesight, man. As you can tell, I got 4 eyes, man. Without this these 2 eyes here, I take off the glasses, I'm blind as a bat. So I definitely understand about the crappy eyes.
Well, I don't know if you saw on my social media, but I broke a tooth in Europe, and I had 3 dental appointments. I got a root canal and I got a bridge put in my mouth. So I'm supposed to get glasses, but that kind of took priority because it's a lot more dangerous to not get that tooth taken care of because it can cause other problems in your body. So that was my first priority is, hey, make sure I could not get sick on this tour. So
I definitely did see photos of you at the dentist. I didn't actually know the root problem, but I'm glad you actually caught it and it's getting fixed and whatnot, man, because tooth problems absolutely can be the worst. It doesn't seem like a big problem, but it definitely hurts like excuse my language, but hurts like a bitch.
Well, I mean, I tell everybody this, and I tell my wife this because my wife's never had a root canal. I'm like, I said, you don't understand this kind of pain, Ben. You have no idea what this pain is because you can't compare it to anything else. You can't compare it to a headache, to a body ache. You can't compare it to anything else. It's the worst pain in my mind.
And Chris, before we part ways this evening, obviously I know how to follow you on social media, but for the individuals that actually aren't that social media savvy, how can they go about following not only yourself, Chris, but also all of Authority Zero as well if they're not already doing so?
Yeah, I mean, Authority Zero Music is our Instagram. We're also on Facebook and all that fun stuff. My hashtag on Instagram is Dalley Man, and then Mike, Jason, and Brendan all have their own as well. You can all follow them, and and we're all on Facebook as well. So just come in, give us a hi. I respond back to everybody that messages me, and I'll have to say hi back.
And I got to say, first and foremost, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time out of your road trip to just speak with not only myself, but the radio station airwaves, man. You know, it was such an honor to speak with you. And obviously, of course, safe travels to not only yourself, but the rest of Authority Zero as well, man. I honestly can't wait till you guys touch down in Canada someday. But for now, definitely rock all of America, man, and tear the roof down on every freaking venue you guys go to.
You know we will, brother, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this for us as well, man. It means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most certainly welcome anytime. We're connected on social media, so shoot me a DM. You're always welcome back on Punk World Radio. But for now, definitely safe travels on tour, and we definitely shall talk soon, Chris.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have yourself a wonderful night.
All right, you too.